Bueno, hola. Y bueno, ahí lo pone. Estás jugando de Stanley Parable. Mira, esto me ha parecido gracioso. Lo he mirado antes. No se ve en la pantalla general, pero en la pantalla del PC, esa que hay aquí en el fondo, representa como la pantalla que yo voy viendo. Y mirad, aquí logros buenos. Buah, logros insanos, cada vez que le das salen logros. Supongo que se pueden activar y desactivar, y igual que las partidas guardadas. Viene por defecto desactivado, así que estará pensado para jugarlo desactivado. Al lío. Venga, va.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on the keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
El Stanley
and then one
ese...
day, something very peculiar happened.
Lo
Something
diré.
that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his
Va,
office.
entonces me van a decir todo el rato lo que tengo que hacer, ¿verdad? ¿Por qué suenan teclas cada vez que le di a la E?
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure.
Yeah.
What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
LOL. ¿Qué ha pasado? Si yo sigo igual. Yo creo que en realidad se han ido de cena de empresa y no lo han invitado. Uf, qué pesado, me interrumpe siempre que quiero hablar. Que digo que se habrán ido de cena de empresa y no lo habrán invitado. Porque un pesado, el Stanley esto, un pesadilla, seguro.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Voy a apagar el PC. Voy a dejar de apagar PC. LOL. Va, pero... Vamos, son las 9:00. O casi las 9.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Qué malote que soy.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Pero ¿por qué cada vez que le da la E suena eso?
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Va.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
El Stanley este... Venga.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Estas esas reuniones, ¿no?
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Joder, fue la oficina del jefe. Aquí el rey. The King. A lo mejor está cagando. Seguro que tiene ahí papel de váter de... yo qué sé, de lina. De lino. Hostia, que estoy con Lina que no cago, Lina es un personaje del Dota.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845.
Sí,
But
pero
of
yo
course,
eso no lo veo.
Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Ah, claro. Qué bien, ¿Y dónde hay un teclado? Yo no veo. Ah, mira. Mierda, ¿cuál era el número?
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Pero yo técnicamente no la sé.
Stanley simply 2845.
Que no me la sé. Hostia, no soy adivino. No, en serio. Me quiero ir.
Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. and Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Son raíles sanos. Va. Tío. Físicas op. Renderizado de botones.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Ketchup, 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 ketchup. Va. Va, tío. La curiosidad... Jope.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Joder.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Vale.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Vale. ¿Y esas luces tan raras? Simplemente son luces. Pues venga, vamos.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
Parece la banda sonora del Fez.
Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Bueno, más que una puerta abierta parece...
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Ah, se ha terminado ya, ¿no? Vale. Y claro, vuelve al principio, ¿no? Para volver a investigarlo. Pues... sinceramente, una puta mierda. Pero así de claro. Pero una mierda como una casa. Es posible que si le sigues buscando posibilidades y te incumbes más en el juego, guste más. Porque yo creo que técnicamente no debería de considerarse esto acabarse el juego. Yo voy a seguir investigándolo. Y voy a seguir jugándolo, pero no voy a seguir grabándolo. Pero así de primera, la primera impresión que te da, pues que es una puta mierda. Pero como una catedral. No sé. Muy railero, tal. No le veo ningún sentido. Pero bueno, seguramente si le buscamos el sentido lo tenga. Así que voy a ello. Y ya está.